Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this one today, I want to talk about recording your sales calls, and this is one habit that will massively accelerate your sales progress and allow you to close more deals a lot more quickly than you would otherwise. So the reason you're probably stuck is you're trying to fix calls that you actually can't remember how it went. So in your mind, you probably thought, oh, that went quite well or that went quite badly. But when it actually comes down to it, you can't exactly remember what it is that you thought wasn't too good or wasn't too bad. So you remember in particular, especially in my experience, the bits that felt good. You think, oh yeah, said this, landed really well, person really liked it. But you then tend to ignore the bit where you said something the prospect kind of grimaced or didn't really take it on board, or they look confused and kind of gloss over that part. And with that as well, you then have no idea where they actually went cold. So you're starting to guess like, oh, was it this that I said? Was it that? But until you actually have the concrete kind of recording in front of you of like, ah, this is where they looks like they dropped off, you're not going to be able to fix that problem. And then every single week, what you're going to be doing is then going into your calls, guessing as to what went well and what didn't go so well, which means you'll be changing bits that perhaps went really well last time to try fix it when it doesn't need fixing and ignoring the parts that were broken. So this is just something that I would highly recommend that you do, and it will massively help you with that. And what you'll hear as well, when you kind of listening back to your calls, and trust me, like you'll probably cringe quite a lot. It's awful, like the first few times that you do it, and yeah, it's not something that you'll ever really enjoy, but it's absolutely necessary to improve at sales and get better. And what you'll notice as you're listening back to it is, wow, I actually spoke way too much or rambled on. I pitched about, I went straight into a pitch, especially in the couple ones that I watched my first sales calls. You could tell I was just itching to get a word in to be able to pitch, and you could see the prospect kind of like resisting and like they felt a bit uncomfortable. They'll tell you something like an objection or a problem, and you kind of glossed over it and moved on to like the next part of the call without digging deeper into it and understanding what it is about that, which is why they want to make this change. And then finally, another big one, which I never really did, especially when I was new to sales, just because it felt awkward, uncomfortable, I was nervous, is actually asking for the sale. And the whole point of this is you should feel sort of uncomfortable, because that's the way that you're going to improve at this and learn how to get better and better, especially if you're using a lot of filler words like or like or something like that, which is kind of killing your flow. So the way to ask if it's okay with your prospects to record calls, I mean, in my experience, no one's ever really objected to it, especially if you kind of frame it in a sense that, like, once this call's over, I'll send you over the recording if you'd like. I typically just do this just so I have something to kind of refer back to when I'm writing up my recap emails or that kind of thing. But if you want to be polite, you want to ask about it, like, look, do you mind if I record this? It's just so I can go back over my notes rather than typing while you talk. And nobody's really going to say no to that, because they'd rather you were listening to them than kind of tapping away on the keyboard and they can hear it and it's really irritating. So when you've got your recordings, the first things you should be looking at when you're kind of watching it back is how much you talk. So if you're talking, well, in the vast majority of the call, you've kind of already failed in that regard, but you want to be talking around 30%. And I know that's kind of hard to quantify when you're watching a recording, but you want to be spending the majority of your time just responding to things they've said with questions. So if, for example, oh, I tried something like this before. Oh, what is it that you tried? Why do you think it didn't work? Again, just always putting them back on the spot, so you're getting more and more information, which is just going to help you understand more and more about their situation and how you can help them. And again, this isn't kind of some sort of trick or anything like that. All you're trying to do here is build a picture of where they're at, what they're looking to achieve, and how you can help them. The next thing you want to look at is how soon did you jump into the pitch. So mark them in it as well. That's something that I started doing. So once I'd done the discovery, a lot of times I'd be like, cool, like, let's get straight into the pitch, where in that situation, in my discovery, what I should have been doing is, like, they call it a bridge, but then understanding what it is in terms of their dream outcome. What is the impact of not achieving that? How would they feel if they didn't achieve that in 6 months and they're exactly where they were? And then you then have kind of all the information about them, where they're trying to get to. Then this is how we would then go about solving that. And that's something to do as well. The bit as well, like, there'll always be objections or things that you could have probed deeper on that you'll miss, and the more you kind of repeatedly watch these back, the more it'll become noticeable to you on the call of, missed this last time, I'm not going to miss it this time, let's ask those follow-up questions and get more information. And then finally, the ending, so did you actually ask for the sale? And this doesn't have to be kind of, are you ready to buy or anything like that. It's just like, oh, so after everything we've discussed, how would you like to proceed? sit back, sit quietly, and let them give you an answer. And again, you can kind of find a way of saying this which feels natural to you. I'm not saying you have to do it in a certain way. In fact, I'd also almost recommend doing it in a way that feels more comfortable to you, because there's no point sitting on calls and having these conversations if you feel awkward and uncomfortable. And yeah, with this as well, you want to make it a habit. So for example, if you have 5 sales calls a week, you're not having to watch every single one, but if you at least watch 1 or 2 or 3 and block out some time in your calendar. A good time to do this is normally like a Friday afternoon. Just watch a couple of these before you get into the pub or something like that when it's a little bit quieter, and write down some notes, so then when you come in on Monday morning, or if you review stuff Sunday afternoon, again, completely up to you, you know, cool, this is what I'm going to work on this week, this is where I messed up last week, and over time it'll have a compounding effect, and your sales calls will just get better and better, and you'll feel more confident, and then when you're actually watching them back as well, you won't feel as awkward or uncomfortable, because it's become natural to you and you've seen how much you've improved. And a side effect of that as well is that once you get over the awkwardness of kind of watching yourself back, the prospect who's watching you will also notice that you don't feel awkward anymore having the conversation with them, because you're so comfortable now with the actual process of doing this. So again, it's just going to accelerate your progress, and I can't recommend anything more than this to improve your kind of sales progress and your skill set. So in terms of tools, I've put a few here, but I mean, if you use something like Google Meet or Zoom or Microsoft Teams, I'm pretty sure all of them now have inbuilt kind of recording tools, or you can use things like Fathom or Otter or anything you want, really, completely up to you. It doesn't really matter which one it is, as long as it records the calls. And also, if you can get transcripts, with the transcripts now, you can put it into Claude and ask it to give you some feedback. And I noticed someone said the other day, oh, if you do this, it just gives you kind of agreeable feedback. In my experience, that definitely doesn't do that. It will basically rip it apart and say you missed this, you missed this. It's actually really good. So I definitely give that a try. And yeah, any more questions, or if you have anything you kind of stuck on with this, feel free to jump into the free school community. We'll be glad to help you out.